Welcome back to my channel, everyone. Sri Tips here, and what we're going to be doing in this video is I have some triple refined pure gold powder here, and we're going to refine it one more time using hydrogen peroxide and hydrochloric acid to dissolve the gold, and then we're going to precipitate with SO2 gas, and then we'll offer the pure gold powder that we get out of here for sale on my eBay site. Before we go into that, what I want to do here is, this is a recently harvested pan of pure silver crystal. I just got it out of the silver cell, and so what I'll do is offer about 6 or 8 of these 1 ounce bags of this pure silver crystal, and I'll pick out the nicer crystals and offer those for sale on my eBay site. And then once those are gone, I'm not going to sell any more of this, so we'll offer those up for sale. And look at that one, man. Look at that thing. It's just beautiful. Once I get this transferred into this bowl, make a listing on my eBay site, offer this for sale, and I'll put a link to it in the description of this video. First thing we're going to do is start out by emptying our gold into this clean beaker. Now I'm adding some hydrochloric acid here to the gold. About, well, there's 2 ounces of gold in there, thereabouts, so I'm going to put in fill it up to about the 350 milliliter level. Let's put the lid up on it. Give it a quick stir. I'm going to set this up on the heat and add some low heat. I've got some 29% hydrogen peroxide. And what we're going to do is measure out about 300 milliliters in this beaker. Want to make sure we got the valve shut off, and now what we'll do is add the hydrogen peroxide to the funnel. Okay, now we're going to ease our delivery device up into the fume hood. Let's get our delivery tube inserted into the beaker. And now what we'll do is start a drip of hydrogen peroxide down into our acid and gold mixture in our beaker. Well, this part was very baffling for me. That is triple refined pure gold powder in there, and it should be produce a crystal clear solution. The solution is cloudy, and I realized I grabbed the wrong lid to put on that beaker. It had some silver nitrate on it and got a little silver in there with our solution. We've got all the peroxide down into the gold. Everything is gone into solution now. So what I'm going to do is remove the delivery device here, get it out of the way. Now we'll pull the gold down off the heat and let it start to cool down. Before I go any further, I'm going to add a little bit of sulfuric acid to precipitate out any lead that may be present. I've allowed the solution to cool and settle completely, and if you look down there, got some precipitate that's settled out. It's silver chloride. And I realized I was racking my brain trying to figure out what happened, because that was triple refined pure gold powder to begin with. What I did is I used this lid earlier in the day to make some silver nitrate electrolyte for my silver cell, and it had traces of silver nitrate left on it. And when I covered it up, covered the gold up to dissolve it with the hydrogen peroxide and hydrochloric acid, some of the silver nitrate dripped down into my solution and contaminated my gold. I had a clean lid ready to go on here, but I grabbed the wrong one. So now we got to deal with getting the silver chloride out of here. Alrighty, here we go. We're going to add some ice cubes to this. The ice is made from distilled water. And I had some questions about why we do this. Why do we add the ice to it? And there's two reasons. First, it'll dilute the gold solution, and any silver chloride that is in solution will come out of solution when we dilute it with water or ice. In this case, I'm using ice. The second thing it'll do for us is it'll aid filtering, because a chilled solution will cause the pores of the filter paper to contract and get smaller and aid filtering any particulate, especially silver chloride, out of the solution. I don't know if you can see it or not, but right up here there's a stain on this glass saucer that I had on top of the gold. That little bit of material right there is silver nitrate, and when I stuck it on top of the beaker here, as this was boiling, as I dissolved it, condensate got up here, pulled some of the silver nitrate and dripped it back down into our solution. So that's what the problem is. Rookie mistake. I'm going to move this up out of the way. And what we'll do is set up a filter flask. And I've got a very fine filter here, a Wattman number 3. So what we'll do is we'll install that into our Buchner funnel. This is this filters out very fine particulate like we're dealing with right here. I'm going to start this out by adding an ice cube to our filter paper, and let's chill the funnel down in the filter paper a little bit. Let's go ahead and filter our solution now. See if we get that silver chloride out of there. That's why it's not a good idea to work on gold and silver at the same time. We risk cross-contamination like that. If I'm dissolving gold in my fume hood, I shouldn't have any silver in there. If I'm dissolving silver in here, I shouldn't have any gold in here. Alrighty, I'm not even gonna inquire as to whether we need to do this or not. I'm just gonna put it in a clean flask, and then we're gonna pull this same filter paper and stick it on top of a clean flask. And now we're going to pour our solution back through the same filter a second time. I just refined about 3.5 troy ounces of pure gold from some carrot scrap. I didn't do it on video, and I took a break from having to do the video. It was like taking a breath of fresh air, refining the metal without having to deal with this camera, and it produced some of the prettiest, nicest, cleanest gold that I've ever seen. And it made me wish I had taken a video of it to show that. And then of course when I try to do something on camera here. We always seem to experience a mishap. Alright, that's the second pass. And what I think I'll do is give it a third pass, just to make sure we get most of that silver chloride out of there. Here you can't tell by looking at the flask if the silver chloride is out of there, if our solution is cloudy or not, because of the condensate on the outside of the flask. So we're just gonna pour it through the filter, the same filter now, a third time. What'll happen is the reason we pour it through multiple times is the pores of the filter will get clogged up, and then it's able to filter out even finer particulate. Here you can see there's some material in the filter. That's our silver chloride that we just filtered out. Silver chloride is slightly soluble in water, more so in hot water. So I'm not going to rinse the filter out down into this solution, run the risk of having some of that silver chloride go into solution and get back down in our gold. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull this off now. This is our good filtered solution, H. And then we're going to rinse the remainder of the gold that's in this filter down into this flask. And then I'll add that to my temporary waste container, and we'll recover the gold out of that later on. Got the filter rinsed out down into this flask here. Well, like I said, we'll recover this later on in our waste container. It's not going to be very much. So now what we'll do is we'll take a clean beaker, add the solution that we filtered 3 times to our clean beaker. The solution still looks real cloudy, and that's because we've got some condensate on the outside of the beaker because it's cold. Now what I'm going to do is add some stump out, sodium metabisulfite. I'm going to precipitate out the pure gold. I should do it. Let me give this a stir. That should be everything. I added 5 spoons of the SMB, so we should have all of our gold precipitated out of here. Let's do a Stannis test, make sure we've got all the gold out of here. And as you can see, negative Stannis test means all the gold is precipitated. I think what we're going to do now is set this up on some heat and boil it to get it to settle. I didn't use any nitric acid to dissolve the gold, And so I'm not worried about a runaway reaction that we get sometimes when we boil the gold to get it to settle. There's no nitric acid in with that gold at all because we used hydrogen peroxide to dissolve it. While I wait for the gold to settle, I promised Mrs. Three Tips that I would take care of this for her today. 569 grams of box here. We're going to take off 2 pounds for the shipping material. And now I have a container full of gold-plated stuff that she's been saving up. We're going to add this to this box. This is all going to be gold-plated jewelry that Mrs. Three Tips has accumulated over the last few months. She sets it aside and saves it. And so what we're going to do is box this up and offer it for sale on my eBay site. Let's pull this back out of the way. I've got a scale here. I'm going to throw this on the scale and see what kind of weight we got. Looks like 23.5 pounds. I've got the box all sealed up now. It's double boxed. And we're going to ship it in a large flat rate box. And this is how it will come. 21.5 pounds of gold-plated scrap jewelry for gold recovery. I'll put a link in this video to the listing on my eBay site. The gold has been on boiling for about 20 minutes. You can see it's all settled out nicely and our solution is nice and clear. I'll pull it down off the heat now and let it cool off a little bit. I've allowed this to cool off a little while. So now what we'll do is we're going to pour off this solution. Notice how clear it is, colorless. It's an indication we got some good pure gold here. Pour it off into our waste container. Here's how the gold looks down in the bottom of our beaker. Looking pretty good. We use some distilled water and rinse our gold powder off real good. Now let's put some hydrochloric acid on our gold. I'm going to give it a boil in hydrochloric acid. If there's any remaining silver chloride on there, the hydrochloric acid boil should dissolve it off, and then we can rid our solution of the rest of the silver chloride. That's been boiling for about 10 minutes. We're going to pull this down off the heat now and let it cool down a little bit. Let's pour this off into our waste container. Now what I'll do is add some more hydrochloric acid. Give it another rinse with hydrochloric. It's looking really good now. I'm trying to get the rest of that silver chloride off of there. Alright, here's a look at the gold. Now that we've got the hydrochloric acid boil complete. Now I'm going to rinse the gold with some distilled water a couple of times. See if we can get some of the acid off of there. The gold is starting to look really good now, nice caramel color. That's how high purity gold should look. Notice that it settles quickly and cleanly. We don't see a bunch of suspended particles of gold in our rinse water. And so now what I'm going to do is add some distilled water to the gold. We're going to set it up on the heat, and we're going to boil the gold now in some distilled water. Gold has been boiling in water now for about 15-20 minutes. I'm going to pull it down and let this cool off. Here's our solution of gold that we rinsed out of the filter. I'm just going to add this now to my waste container, and it'll precipitate out and settle down to the bottom of that thing. And then sometime in the future we'll go in there and get that gold out of there and recover it. This waste container is full. So what we'll do, just set it back here out of the way, and I'll pour this water boil off into this beaker because there's no more room in my temporary waste container. So let's pour this off into this beaker right here. Oh yeah, that gold is looking fairly spectacular. Just like it is right there. Looks really, really good. I'm going to add some hydrochloric acid to the gold now. Just under half a liter or so. Let's put this up on the heat and start heating this up. Get this thing out of the way. The hydrochloric acid is beginning to boil. What I've done is I've set up another 300 milliliters of hydrogen peroxide in here, so we're going to start dripping some of that in now, a little at a time, and redissolve the gold another time here. Start all over. This took about 55 minutes to get it to go into solution completely. And I'm feeling much better now because the solution is nice, clear and bright. I'm going to pull it down, let it set and cool off for a little bit. I'm going to add some ice cubes now. Try to cool the solution off. These ice cubes are made from distilled water. What we don't want to see right now is a bunch of precipitate forming. When we put these in, that would be more silver chloride. And so far, it does not look like we're going to get any silver chloride formation in here, which is good. That's what we want to see. The solution is looking much better now. Condensation on the outside of there. There is a little bit of gold that didn't dissolve. That's quite all right. Let's go ahead and filter this now. And I think we're going to be okay here. There's a tiny bit of gold down on the bottom of the beaker that didn't dissolve. I'll just add that to my waste treatment container. I will recover that out later. But this solution is looking very, very good. This is looking much better. That's what's in our filter. I don't see any particulate in there. And our solution down here is looking real good. The outside of the jug is frosted with condensate, as you can see there, but the solution inside looks very clear and bright, free of any cloudiness. I'm going to transfer the liquid now that contains our gold in it to a beaker. I'm going to cover this up and get this out of the way, and we're going to get set up to do the SO2 gas precipitation. I've got a 2-liter sidearm flask here with a 2440 ground glass connection. And what I'm going to do is add a little bit of our stump out to this. This is sodium metabisulfite that I'm adding to this flask here. Now what we'll do is fill our addition funnel up with some concentrated sulfuric acid. This is about 93% concentrated sulfuric acid. It's going to fill up our funnel here with it. Alright, now what we're going to do is add some water into this gas generator to make a slurry of the SMB. Let's put a plug in our addition funnel, and we'll clamp that to make a gas tight seal. Then we're going to take this, stick it up here on our gas generator bottle, and put a clamp on this as well. And fill this flask with some sulfuric acid so we can bubble our SO2 gas through here. Cool it off and kind of clean it a little bit before it goes to the beaker with our gold. Alright, let's put our delivery tube in here. And we'll put this back here. And now we're going to connect to our gas generator flask. So the gas will come out here through this tube and bubble through this sulfuric acid. Here's our gold solution. And now what we'll do is back here. I've got the sulfuric acid bubbler set up. And I'm going to connect a tube to that, and that will direct the gas out of this bubbler and down into our gold. Okay, I'm ready to set this thing in motion. What we need to do is open up the valve back here. Let me see. Got everything clamped. Everything's tight. We should, oh, let me do this. Before we get started, I'm going to add some distilled water to our gold solution, because this reaction happens much better when we have a dilute solution. Here we go. We're going to start dropping some acid into the SMB in here. We'll try to get it dripping real slow. I don't want to put it in there too fast. And there we go. Drip at a time. Just like that. That looks good. Now we've got to bleed all the air out of the system. And then once we get the SO2 gas coming into our gold solution, we should see it start precipitating out. Alrighty, I'm just going to let the camera roll here and see if we can capture the moment that we start getting gold out of here, precipitating out. Notice our solution is nice and clear. So this should produce some very high purity gold. Alright, I'm starting to see a little bit of gold collecting on the bottom of the beaker down there. I'm going to add a little bit of water to this. I'm going to dilute it further by adding a little bit more distilled water. Oh, there we go. We've got a color change starting now. It's important to get the concentration of gold correct for this to happen like we want it to. Look at that. It's turned almost clear there, and in a minute you're going to see it flash over brown. All of a sudden it's just going to go boom and turn brown. There it goes. The book says that the SO2 gas precipitation produces some of the purest gold, more pure than if we just add the SMB straight to the solution. Bubbling the gas like this makes nice, pure gold. Let's get a Stannis test on this. I think all the gold is precipitated now. And there you can see, negative Stannis test means all the gold has precipitated out of our solution now. Okay, that precipitation went very smooth for us. Let me cut the acid flow off to our gas generator. Now we're going to take our tube out. This is going to have gold clinging to it. We'll just rinse that off with some distilled water. Now what we'll do is just cover this up and let the gold settle out. You can see it's already starting to settle nicely. I can see through the solution already. And down at the bottom we've got that beautiful caramel colored gold powder settling out quickly. That took about 20 minutes to settle completely. The gold is just beautiful. The solution is crystal clear above it. Now what we're going to do, we're going to pour off this solution into our waste beaker over here and start cleaning up this gold. It's just a waste solution. We're going to pour this off and get rid of it. Alright. Here's what the gold looks like down at the bottom of our beaker. Now what we're going to do is rinse the gold over and over with distilled water and get it nice and cleaned up. I think I've got all the acid rinsed off now. Been rinsing this over and over with distilled water. Alright, let's pour this last one off here. And now what I want to do, I've got some pH test papers here, and let's see what kind of pH we got going on with this liquid now. Oh yeah, we're neutral, so we've got all the acid rinsed off. Now what I'll do is transfer the gold into a separate dish here. Whoops, just like that. I lost a little piece. That's alright, I can get that later. Getting wore out and getting tired. Spilt a little bit of the gold. That's alright, I'm just gonna mop it up with a piece of paper, and we'll put that in our paper storage, and we'll cover it when we do our filters. A little bit of water down here. I'm going to try to get as much of the moisture out of here as I can before we attempt to dry this out with a heating pad. Now let's put our pure gold, that's what it looks like, inside of another Corningware dish. We're going to bring up our heating pad here. Put it on some low heat. How we got this thing. I'm going to activate some low heat here. Start drying our gold powder off. Flatten this out a little bit and see if we can spread it out, get it to dry off quicker. It's been on here about 20 minutes now. We've got 364 Fahrenheit, 184 Celsius. So I'm going to turn the heat down now and let this cool off. All right, what 3 tips video would be complete without a peek down into the silver cell? This has been operating for about 6 days now. 6 days worth of crystal growth down in the silver cell. Here's our finished product. This stuff looks incredible. It's a gold sponge and it's high purity, 3 nines or better. And what we'll do is we'll sell this by the gram on my eBay site, and we'll also have some of the pure silver crystal that we seen in the first part of the video. Put some of that on there, and we're going to offer the gold-plated scrap jewelry for gold recovery. Alrighty, this will conclude the video. I'd like to thank everyone for watching. I'll put links to those 3 listings in the description of this video. Thank you for watching.